I've always liked mystery and fantasy. It's an interesting and different poem for many more reasons, partly because the way it depicts the fairies, which is a tribe who judges people, and then later it depicts them as tribes who eat bird brains, not the average thing to do. First as people who judge maids, and then later as people who eat bird brains, which is a very different perspective, whereas people is something that people do every day. It's a lot of people's jobs, that's perfectly normal, but no one eats bird brains at all. It also depicts the fairies with almost supernatural powers, where it's saying that no one ever sees them, but they'll always see you. And you'll always be caught, no one escapes. And when they catch you, they can pinch and poke you, causing minor pain, but nothing major. That's not the average punishment. It's a lot less painful, but it's not the average one. I found that this poem connected me to two more main ways. The first one is nature, which I've always liked, but never been a person for walking, which is not something they do in this poem. And it talks about nature, but not as most poems do. Most of them just specifically talking about nature or don't talk about it at all. But this one slightly hints at nature and then goes on to different things, like the fairies. And it also talks about fantasy, which is not a thing in poems often seen. Fairies' taste in food is kind of exotic, which it talks about kind of later in the poem. But it might taste good, you never know. The poem could be showing by this that the fairies eat differently. They're still kind of normal, showing they don't judge by opinions or food choices. All this is shown by when the fairies are eating brains and snail meat. Different and exotic. By an anonymous author, which means it doesn't have an author that has been named. Come follow me, you fairy elves that be, which circle in the green, come follow Mad, your queen. Hand in hand let's dance around, for this place is fairy ground, when mortals are at rest, and snoring in their nest. Unheard and unespied, through keyholes we do glide, over table stools and shelves, we trip it with our fairy elves. And if the house be foul, with plate or dish or bowl, upstairs we nimbly creep, and find the sluts asleep. We pinch their arms and thighs, none escapes, nor none espies. But if the house be swept, and from uncleanliness kept, we praise the household maid, and duly she is paid. For we use before we go, to drop a tester in her shoe. Upon a mushroom's head our tablecloth we spread, a grain of rye or wheat is manchet, which we eat. Pearly cups, drops of dew we drink, and acorn cups filled to the brink. The brains of nightingales, with untouched fat of snails, between two cockles stewed, is meat that's easily chewed. Tails of worm and marrows of mice do make a dish that's wondrous nice. Grasshopper, gnat, and fly serve us for our minstrelsy. Grace said we dance a while, and so the time beguile. If the moon doth hide her head, the glowworm lights us home to bed. On top of dewy grass, so nimbly we do pass. The young and tender stalk never bends when we do walk. Yet in the morning it may be seen, where we the night before